I'll do my best. Is AI in the hands of the wrong people? Whether Africa likes it or not, artificial intelligence has come to stay.
Welcome to the GAIN podcast. It is the third day of the GAIN Summit. I have with me today Ms. Toyosi, the CEO and founder of Rise Networks. Ms. Toyosi, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. Thank you for joining us on the podcast.
I'm glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here. Can you give me a brief introduction about yourself for our listeners at home?
My name is Toyosi Akerele-Ogunsiji. I work at Rise Networks. We are a data and artificial intelligence for development organization in Nigeria, West Africa. And I'm very happy to be here to be able to contribute not just Nigeria's perspective to artificial intelligence development around the world, but also Africa's perspective. Our work ties very strongly to using research, learning, development, training, and skills capacity building of young people, professionals, institutions to be able to improve their capacity and understanding of the use of data and the disruptive and transformational nature of artificial intelligence to drive social change across our country and the continent and the world at large. Most recently, we've only just completed principal photography for the first film on artificial intelligence, education, and other digital skills like data analytics, data science, cybersecurity, autonomous vehicles, like that. And basically, the idea is to use feature film, use this feature film as a platform of a convergence of technology and entertainment to be able to, educate young people, knowing that pop culture and entertainment is very compelling and very powerful in terms of influencing the lifestyles and the culture and the decision-making processes of young people. We also believe that engaging with governments and policy organizations and institutions, engaging with policymakers, engaging with private sector require that we simplify this concept of this grand idea of artificial intelligence to them, because back home in Africa a lot of people are very worried about AI would take our jobs, AI would render us useless, we would become obsolete. My presentation this week, which I led 2 days ago, was the topic was on maintaining human self-confidence when machines appear to be better. And I had the privilege of sharing the potential impact, positive impact of the collaboration of human effort and machines, and therefore the work that we're doing at Rise Interactive and Rise Interactive Studios, which is our film and content development company, and Rise Networks, which is our core data and AI company, is to ensure that we are able to maximize the potential of human productivity in this era of machines
And it's a very
and
important
robots.
topic.
Absolutely.
It's a very important topic, and exactly what you said. The main concern a lot of people have worldwide when they hear AI is job security. Is my job safe?
Correct.
And it expands globally across continents.
Yeah, but what I've been saying is it's not artificial intelligence that'll take your job. It's the person or the people that know how to use artificial intelligence that'll take your jobs. And what we need to understand is that as long as we continue to invest in human capacity development and human capabilities, there is no point where machines are completely going to overrun human beings, because at the very center of this conversation is where our humanity as individuals lie. I had a slide in my presentation a few days ago where I showed that machines have body parts, but they don't have souls. They don't have human feelings. They don't have the capacity for emotional intelligence. They don't have the propensity for ethical decision making. There's just so much that machines can do. But I think that what we need to do is a lot more advocacy around the positive, sides of AI, how it's going to help us to automate tasks very quickly, improve efficiency within organizations, help us to be able to drive concrete results, around the clear goals and objectives that are defined within individual institutions. But more than that, we human beings also have to understand that as much as there are positive sides to AI, it is very important to assess the ethical ramifications, the legal implications, and the significance of the governance of artificial intelligence. I'm a lawyer by training, and I found myself in deep tech by happenstance. But that combination of understanding law, policy, understanding human behavior, understanding the role that technology would play in transforming our lives, our community, society, and humanity itself, I think would be the most important conversation in this fourth industrial revolution.
I agree. And that brings me to my topic of the GAIN Summit. I have to ask you, since we're here, we're on day three, and ethics is a very important topic here at the
Absolutely.
summit. It's surrounding a lot of the conversations we're seeing. What has been your experience so far on the third day of the GAIN Summit?
I'm very, very happy to be here. I have to. I was here as a speaker in 2022 on the main
Mm,
stage on a panel, and it was very exciting to be able to talk about the role that AI would play in empowering youth populations, you know the Gen Zs, the Gen
mm,
Alphas, who have unhinged access to technology, and all of that. And it's really great to be back here in 2024, um, particularly because in 2022 I'd mentioned that we were trying to shoot, this,
mm,
film on artificial intelligence, try to make sure it gets on streaming platforms. We want to be able to use familiar channels of interaction like television, film, and music to be able to, appeal to the emotions of young people and government critical stakeholders around embracing artificial intelligence as a concept of technology. And then back here 2 years later, the film is completely produced. It's
mm.
going to cinemas in a few months. We're currently in post-production. The US consulate in Nigeria hosted the first exclusive screening on Friday, just before I left Nigeria to come
Wow.
here. And I'm excited to see what I've seen here this year. The diversity is a lot more robust, from across the world. The quality of the subjects that been put in focus, the quality of the speakers, the organization, even the
Mhm.
diversity in terms of the subjects that are being analyzed. Now we have deeper mixed reality, the intersection of mixed reality and artificial intelligence. We're seeing a lot of AI in arts and culture. We're seeing more of generative artificial intelligence.
Mhm.
I really like the Alam program, the Arabic language. Look,
Learning program. Yeah.
the Arabic language models program. I listened to the DG of the Digital Cooperation Organization. I'm excited, at the possibilities of collaboration between Saudi Arabia and Nigeria, where I come from, because we share a lot of, similarities. Nigeria and Saudi Arabia are both oil producing countries. We also have a huge burgeoning youth population. We have a huge, Islamic community in Nigeria. And while I'm Christian, I am also very religion agnostic. I believe that development knows no color, knows no language,
Yeah.
knows no religion. And so I've learned a lot from here that I really want to take back home. And hopefully when I come back in 2026, we're able to say that, we're moving from, talk to action. We're
Mhm.
moving from action to implementation. We're now able to see concrete results, directly dovetailing out of some of my learning outcomes from the
Yeah.
2024 Game Summit. But I've learned, a lot, seeing, making a lot of friends. I've also, in fact, for our film, the game, that we were trying to develop in Nigeria for the film,
Mhm.
I've just met a possible partner here in Saudi Arabia 2 days ago,
That's wonderful.
and she's female and she's very excited about access to new markets, and we're definitely exploring, collaborating on building and designing the game in a
Mhm.
way that young people from across the world, be outside our own individual countries of Nigeria and Saudi Arabia, will be able to play it and of course learn, improve their cognitive ability, drive reinforcement learning, experiential learning, for young people around the world. Of
Mm.
course, using games that are AI based.
Definitely. That's wonderful to hear. I mean, this. I'm glad you saw all of that in the summit. It's definitely the place to be.
Sure,
There's a diverse community, people
absolutely.
coming from around the world, such as yourself, to share their insights and their expertise in the world of AI. It's wonderful. I want to take a few steps back. You have an extraordinary journey in AI, being recognized as one of Africa's most powerful young women and a top global AI ambassador. That's wonderful. What sparked your passion for AI, particularly in the context of AI for social good?
Hmm. I've always been very solution driven,
Mm,
solution conscious. I come from a part of the world where we're typically profiled as we're poor, we're behind, and I've had the privilege of going to school in different parts of the world. um, Education and innovation has really opened my mind, and I've seen what can happen to the mind of a young person if they're given opportunity.
Yes.
And I want to be able to pay it forward to the next generation of my country, my continent, and the world at large. The generation that I define as the successor generation.
I like that.
And artificial intelligence was extremely fascinating to me. I like to go to very difficult places. Just to say that beyond working at the very core of AI, I'm currently, a PhD fellow at the Nigerian Defense Academy, researching, the impact of the fourth industrial revolution technologies on Nigeria's national and economic security. You probably have heard about some of the insecurity challenges we're facing in the country, but we also need to look at the impact of, drone surveillance, data analytics, predictive analytics, AI. And so for me, having read a lot, done a lot of research, did my master at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government, it sort of showed me, and then of course took a lot of electives at MIT in 2017. I read a book called Startup Nation. And so I started to just learn a lot more about AI. Because of all the technologies of the fourth industrial revolution, artificial intelligence is going to be the most has the most transformative capacity, just like Eric Schmidt, of the former CEO of Google said. I also believe that it's one of the key areas that will help me to put my emotions and my skills, a combination of both of them, and use them to really, really make a difference. Because I keep saying that technology that doesn't deliver solutions, technology that doesn't solve problems, is dead on arrival. And so I'm looking at, when you look at AI in comparison to other technologies of the 4IR, you would see that it has great impact on health, great impact on education, on transportation, on fintechs, on everything. And that's why the other area that is very interesting to me is cybersecurity. I will probably, pursue something in it in the coming years. But for now, I still want to deepen my knowledge, deepen my impact, and that's why with Make Nation, which is the first, first African feature film, focused on technologies of the fourth industrial revolution like AI and all that. We're taking it, it's a 2-year plan to take it around the world, take it to schools. After it's gone to cinemas, take it to schools. We're collaborating with governments to be able to show it, help young people make career decisions very early from high school. Let young people and teachers and government know that the curriculum that we used 10 years ago does not prepare the young people of today for the future of work. We cannot face today's challenges with yesterday's knowledge.
Exactly.
And that's why it's just very important that knowing the transformative potential of artificial intelligence, for me, was a no-brainer that this is where I want to be. And I've also found out that women make a difference more when you choose areas where nobody's going to, uncharted territories, give you the opportunity to quickly, make impact and make a difference.
You mentioned education. You've been an advocate in AI for education, safety, and responsible AI usage. In your view, what are the most critical steps we should take to ensure AI is used ethically and responsibly, especially in emerging economies?
Very good question. I said this at the AI Safety Summit, convened by the British government in November at Bletchley Park in England, that one of my worries um, concerning the risks of artificial intelligence is AI in the hands of the wrong people. Deep fakes, deep audios, implicit and cognitive biases, decision making that is inaccurate because we're seeing a lot of disinformation and misinformation. Um, it's if I had to recommend, the first thing that we need to do is artificial intelligence education. People need to understand the way AI works for them to be able to distinguish between what the positive impact would be and what the risks would be. Second is that governments in the global south need to define clearly, we need to have a harmonized artificial intelligence governance framework. Nigeria has only just released its national AI strategy, and I had the privilege of being part of the team that worked on the ethics component of that document, and we're still developing it because again we come from a part of the world where technology is fast growing, but we're still not there yet. It's still not El Dorado for us compared to countries like Saudi Arabia, the United States, the UK, China, and all. But I mean, we're getting there. Um, it's very crucial for us to be able to analyze what these risks are and develop preventive measures, as against reactionary measures. Because when these risks have already happened, um, there is a lot of danger that they pose when they've already happened, as against when we prepare people to know that this is not the right way and this is not the right way. We worked with MacArthur Foundation to build the very first mobile application on elections, to monitor misinformation and disinformation in Nigeria's 2023 elections. And we had to train the data. We had to train the models using data that we had to create from scratch, because we also don't have a harmonized data warehousing, data generation, data harmonization framework. And so for developing nations, it's very important that number one, we take the issue of data very crucial, because data is the lifeblood of AI. You can't do much of artificial intelligence without data. And we in countries like the US, you have a single social security number with which the US can find you practically anywhere, whether it's your banking system, whether it's because you've beat traffic, or you've committed a traffic offense, whether it's because you're trying to
Apply for a new
evade the
job, or
law,
yeah.
or you're trying to get a job or something. In the developing countries, we're still grappling with multiple channels of and multiple facets of what kind of information is unique, is uniforms and constitutes the unique identity of an individual citizen in those countries. And when you don't have such, unique identities, or you don't have that unique data to an individual, it's very difficult to trace, any foul play, or to trace any wrong actions that are taken. People would continue to use technology for vices, as much as other people like me are going to be thinking of using it for
Okay.
social good. What we must not allow to happen is to continue to allow loopholes in the application and the utilization of technology. We must work to close those gaps. And that's why it's a great opportunity for someone like me to be here, to be able to learn what's happening in other countries and take the knowledge back home, to ensure that there's knowledge exchange, you know there's knowledge transfer from other parts of the world into our countries. One of the things that's also very important is cross fertilization of ideas. When people don't go out of their immediate environment, they don't know what's happening around the world, and they are completely stuck with their problems. Um, I travel pretty often, and I'm very, disposed to seeing what's happening around the world and going back home to localize international ideas. Because the truth is, what necessarily works in Saudi Arabia or works in China or the UK or the US may not necessarily be, effective in Nigeria. And so we must think about local solutions to global problems, not just local solutions to local problems. We must be open to collaboration. Like I mentioned to you now, we've just finished shooting this really very big budget feature film that we titled Make Mation, which is, by the way, coined out of two words, the making of automation. Basically, to be able to tell the story of the evolution of technology, the rise of technology startups and ecosystems, the capacity of young people in Africa to be able to use technology at their disposal to solve problems, even in the face of poverty and very debilitating circumstances. And I were trying to develop the game in Nigeria. Now, we don't have a lot of game development companies in Nigeria. There are a couple of them, but we want a world class, game that can compete on a global stage. We've done the UI UX design, in Nigeria, but we couldn't, we were still trying to figure out how to develop, the game in terms of the technicalities. Being here, I found the person who's going to develop the game, and she's more excited about it than I am. That's what I'm talking about. That collaboration now will take us from not just building this game, but also begin to start doing webinars, start doing virtual workshops, where this company called Game It here in Saudi Arabia is going to start training young people in game development in Nigeria. And then we can find a partner who can probably fund it and so we can let them come here to do internship, go back home, and then do train the trainers program. Within another 2 years, between now and 2026, you probably have graduated maybe 100 new game developers that will be useful for Nigeria and Africa. And that is the very important, for me, the most important thing that the Global AI Summit, in 2022 and the Gain Summit in 2024 is achieving. That convening power of bringing people together, not just to come and talk about issues, because talk doesn't cook rice, but to launch new programs, to be able to provide platforms for networking and collaboration, to be able to help nation states and individuals and organizations solve their local problems by taking new knowledge from different parts of the world and taking it back home in a way that works for our own unique challenges where we come from.
I like that you said talk doesn't cook rice. You
Absolutely.
perfectly put it right. I think it's the importance of shared knowledge and expertise, like you said.
Completely.
Events like these that bring people together. And I'm excited to see what that collaboration is going to bring to game development.
Sure.
If we have this conversation again in 2-3 more years, I'm excited to hear about it.
Absolutely. I mean, when we launch the game, I'm definitely going to give credit to Gain
Yeah.
because I only met Hiba here.
Through it. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Your role as a member of various international working groups, including the UNDP's AI for Development
Correct.
and the AI for Public Interest Working Group, gives you a global perspective. How do you see AI contributing to the development of goals in Africa and beyond?
First, Africa is I'm very, very proud to be African. I mean, I've been here 3 days. You see that I'm wholly African, even in my dressing, and I want to transport Africa to the world. And Africa is exciting. Africa is the new frontier for development, for progress, for prosperity around the world. We do not just have the four things that make continents powerful. We have the resilient spirit, even in the face of adversity. Africans continue to push the envelope in terms of, whether it's arts and culture, whether it's, by the way, in Nollywood, Nigeria's filmmaking industry is the third largest in the world after America and India, just to put that on the table, right? Some of the biggest films coming out of the world come from Nigeria. And it goes without saying why the first film on AI, out of Africa would come from Nigeria as well. Africa is a very blessed country, resources, natural resources, mineral resources, human resource, which is our greatest
Useful,
superpower,
yeah.
extreme youth population. In Nigeria, where I come from, at least 65% of our entire population of over 200 million people is below the age of 25. So we're a country that is Gen Z, very Gen Z compliant.
Gen Alpha as
very
well.
Gen Alpha compliant, right? And this AI film that we made was made 70% by young people. The director is 29, the post-production supervisor is 29, the director of photography is 33, the editor is 33, the sound designer, all of them in very young people. I'm the oldest, perhaps the oldest in the team. And it's a testament to how smart, how resilient, how dogged, the gusto, the indomitable spirit of Africans. We don't have everything that you guys have here in Saudi Arabia. We don't have everything they have in the US. But with the little that we have, Africa is commanding, the respect. The young people of Africa, the private companies of Africa are commanding the respect that we should have. The thing that we need to fix about Africa is our leadership. If a few of our policymakers and our leaders in government are as forward-looking, progressive, and dynamic as the young people, as the entrepreneurs, as the policy development organizations and the private sector, we'll be a global superpower. It's not negotiable. I believe that Africa's contribution to artificial intelligence is growing very fast. I like the attention of the UNDP, where I'm privileged to serve on the AI for Development Working Group. I like the fact that we're constantly thinking about, AI governance. We're thinking about, we've broken it down into like different, subsets where we're working on AI governance, AI for education, AI for transportation, trying to look at how we can create unique African solutions to our unique African problems.
Yeah.
With and then of course UNDP as the convening institution, Microsoft is also part of that conversation. Would help us to be able to bring all of those ideas together, refine them, and then keep us accountable in terms of not just talking about it but actually doing it. So we're seeing a lot of contributions in terms of even product designs, product development. Just before I came here, a young boy somewhere in northern Nigeria had built an AI project that could help people with visual impairment, people who can't see, right, to be able to see better using AI. In our Make Mission film, we wrote and developed new projects like Health Ethics, which is a combination of health check analytics. It's a project where the protagonist in the film had to create, using chips and Arduino boards and potentiometers, jumper cables, to be able to create a microchip that would diagnose diseases within microseconds. We also had the sheet detected bra built out of a woman's bra and a couple of electrical components with AI models where we're able to use predictive analytics to check the presence of breast cancer in women. We also built AI for traffic control, where we're using artificial intelligence and data analytics to manage traffic congestion within Lagos, which is like the fifth largest, one of the largest economies in Africa, and the biggest economy in Nigeria. The internally generated revenue of Lagos is equivalent to that of 30 other states, back home in Nigeria. And so these are some of our own, ways as an organization, Rise Networks, of contributing to not just, capacity building, to not just policy design and research. We've just completed the artificial intelligence for border governance, border security and border governance for Nigeria, in partnership with the Foreign Commonwealth Development Office of the UK government in Nigeria. We're working extensively with a lot of different partners on different research projects, and it's just a really very exciting time, for us, not just in Nigeria as a country, but also in Africa as a continent.
I can tell that.
Yeah.
When you were speaking about the feature film Make Nation, you said something interesting. You said the majority of the people that made the film were youth.
All of
And
the director, the director of the film, Michael Akinrogunde, I'm a psalmist, is 29.
29. That's amazing.
And he only just posted it on Instagram yesterday. He's very proud.
Oh.
I'm very proud of the fact that I did not give up on young people. A lot of people try to talk me out of this is such a big budget film. We have a lot of big partners on it. Luminate of a media network is the biggest funder of Make Nation, by the way. We have Sterling Bank, which is a tier 2 bank. In fact, the CEO of Sterling Bank is the graduation speaker on the film. Iolu Aboyeji, the founder of Andela and Flutterwave. Andela is the first investment of Mark Zuckerberg in Africa. And Flutterwave is perhaps the biggest fintech company in Nigeria. He's on that film. Ifeoluwa Drosimieti of Economy, one of the biggest female-focused fintechs in Nigeria, is on. So we brought a lot of, technology trailblazers. They made cameo appearances in the film. Olumide Soyombo is the first investor in two of the biggest fintechs in Nigeria. He made a cameo appearance on the film. And we shot the film in the Microsoft Africa Development Center, which was opened by Bill Gates. Last year, we shot it at Pan Atlantic University, which is, top 50 in the world in terms of tertiary institutions, wholly Nigerian owned. We had a lot of really incredible. We had to build a lot of sets from scratch because we wanted to show the rustic nature of grass to grace, poverty to progress and prosperity. And like you said, I'm extremely proud. And this is what leaders must do. We must believe in young people. There are places that we won't get to anymore, but these young people they have the disruptive energy to change everything. The protagonist in the story herself is 17 years old. She's 25 in real life, but she had to act as a 17-year-old. And the story has a lot of themes around AI for healthcare, AI for transportation, AI for complex problem solving. It's not to be able to say we just shot another film. We've got great films. It's to be able to show how young people can use artificial intelligence to transform the lives of themselves, their communities, their families, and change their fortunes. Zara, who's the protagonist in the story, used artificial intelligence to actually save her father's life because the doctors actually couldn't find, the cure. They couldn't actually diagnose the disease, the ailment that our father was suffering. And if you research well, misdiagnosis is one of the biggest, causes of, high mortality back home in Nigeria and Africa. And we collaborated with my good friend who's the associate professor at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. He was our medical consultant, on the film. So we also had a lot of contributions from, I mean, when you say it takes a village, for Make Nation, it took an entire country, maybe the whole continent,
I wanna,
to make the film.
when you're saying a whole continent, I want to ask you this question. First of all, what I find inspiring is it's the youth that are kind of building onto their future in the world of
Absolutely.
AI through this film, the feature film. But I want to ask you, how did this feature film, or how do you think it will influence the perception of AI in Africa?
I think it's going to be a complete revolution. And I say that with every sense of modesty and humility. It took a whole year to write the script for this film, and it was trying to get it right. I co-wrote the script with another incredible 25-year-old young girl, Nengidiri, who'd never written a feature film, story before. I took a chance on her, and I'm glad that, today she's able to say that the first film on AI out of Africa has a name on it. And her name comes before mine because she wrote the film and broke it down into scenes and story. I basically provided technical guidance and wrote all the technical components of the story. Now, the reason why Make Mission is an important film, for Africa is because we've seen the rise of lifestyle change in young people influenced significantly by pop culture. Some of our biggest heroes out of Africa are musicians: Wizkid, Davido, Burna Boy, Tiwa Savage, Ira Star. Some of the biggest influencers in film, around Africa, are film actors. Richard Mofe Damijo, Funke Akindele, Muabudu, a ton, Shafi Bello, right? A ton of them, right? And when we see that young people want to be like these people, and I know that it's not just in Africa, it's all over the world. Taylor Swift was in a show in Singapore in March when I was there, and she had the entire country in chokehold. For 6 straight days, the stadiums were filled up. Like, it wasn't that I was told, I was there. Pop culture is so powerful.
Yes.
And we could have made Make Mission as a documentary or just another short film. We wanted to use entertainment, riveting, emotional connection to drive home a very compelling message around the role that AI will play in transforming our future. And I mean, just testing the film on young people, showing it in small places and telling young people to come and watch it. We had our first exclusive screening hosted at the private residence of the Consular General of the U.S. Consulate in Lagos, Nigeria, on Friday, the 6th of September, Mr. Will Stevens. And just looking at people, the emotions, people cried, people laughed, people made notes. People said they were going to go home and tell their parents that, they were going to change the courses they wanted to study. Parents said they were going to allow their children to do more new courses that align with the jobs of the future. Policymakers said that they now see the importance of AI governance. Teachers, educationists said that they now see the reason why they need to revamp what they're teaching. Because you now live in an era where students in secondary schools and universities are using ChatGPT to do assignments, and teachers don't even know how to use the computers effectively. So what Make Mission as a feature film would do is leverage entertainment. While people are enjoying watching this film, they are learning. Because even the actors themselves had to learn. They had to research to be able to act some of the contents of the script, because they were very technical terminologies. When you tell an actor who's been a thespian all his life to come and talk about Arduino boards and come and talk about coding his data models and talking about false positives and false negatives, um, it's incredible. The other thing that Make Mission would do is to ensure that disadvantaged populations, people with disabilities, are well represented and they feel seen. Our robotics instructor in that film has only one leg, and she's one of the brightest people out of Nigeria. The reason why we casted her for that role is because we want people with disabilities to know that they are enough. They are adequate and they can compete on a level playing field with people that have everything. They are complete as they are. And we also want parents of children in those sort of circumstances to know that their children can become anything they desire to be, and there are no limitations. In the fourth industrial revolution, technology has provided a level playing field where you can be in Nigeria and you're earning dollars in India. You can be in Nairobi in Kenya and you're working three different remote jobs in Saudi Arabia, the UK, and China. That's the importance and that's the significance of the impact of technology on our lives. And it's not going to go anywhere. Whether Africa likes it or not, artificial intelligence has come to stay. The earlier we embrace it, the better for us because it will continue to evolve sporadically. And the earlier, we adopt it, the earlier we manage it, the earlier we govern it, the earlier we understand that we need, as much as we want to innovate, we need to manage the responsible aspects of AI, manage the ethics of it, the better for us as a continent.
Very true. I couldn't agree more. We're running a bit short on time. I want to ask you just one last question. With your work on social impact, what are you hoping to achieve through your continued work in AI in development and advocacy?
I want to be able to see at least in another 5 years, see at least through direct training and indirect training, at least 5 million more African young people become not just AI enthusiasts, but professionals in one aspect of artificial intelligence or the other. Even if it's as little as being a data analyst in a fintech company, or being a data engineer in an oil and gas company, or being an AI robotics engineer in a school, or just being a teacher somewhere. Um, we need to come to terms with the fact that AI will change our lives forever. And we have the capacity to define the scope, the length, and the breadth of how much good we want AI to do to us and how much good we want to do with artificial intelligence. I want to be able to deepen my work in in AI for education, and I want to be able to do more with AI in filmmaking, especially because you would be shocked that while we were making Make Mission, a lot of our team members were very worried because they felt that with the rise of generative artificial intelligence, in another 10 years, many of them may not have jobs because we're seeing what Runway and Mid Journey are doing with, text to audio, text to imagery, text to video. But I've kept telling them that machines are still going to need human beings to train them. And that's why we need to begin to build more capacity. Rather than using generative AI to plug the head of one lady on the body of another person and using it to generate deep fake audios and deep fake imagery, we can turn it around for good and use it to make, films within a few minutes, deploy them to the internet, get more people to watch it, generate more revenue, create more global prosperity. And then, of course, finally, I'm very passionate about AI in healthcare. Just working on Make Mission Film and seeing the potential impact of how data, patient care medical records, can save people's lives. People are dying in Africa, and we can reduce our mortality rate significantly if we kept more, harmonized data, within central systems. If we build more capacity of, our lecturers and teachers within the high institutions, if we improved more regulatory frameworks from the government side, collaborating with donors like Luminate, like MacArthur Foundation, and a couple of other international development partners, Ford Foundation, and a number of them. For me, if in another 5 years I see young people across Africa creating more locally made AI products, exporting them to the world, if I'm able to see more schools include AI, different aspects of AI as crucial, aspects of their education curriculum, if I'm able to see Nigeria's government and African governments, create more regulations around AI, if I'm able to see more young people pursuing active research like I'm doing in my PhD now in artificial intelligence, if I'm able to see more lecturers, more, supervisors in our academic institutions who are able to supervise our thesis and our research work in artificial intelligence, if I'm able to see more private institutions understand that we need to upskill and reskill a lot of our, growing workforce on the continent, my job will be absolutely done.
That's brilliant. And I think you perfectly summarized it. With the work that you're doing with Make Nation, I think there's going to be a lot of impact
I,
from
I,
what
I
you're
agree
telling
with
me.
you.
there's going to be a lot of impact in a lot of
Correct.
sectors. The future is bright. That's what we can say.
Absolutely.
That's all our time. Thank you so much, Ms. Toyosi. I really appreciate
Thank
your
you so
time,
much,
and
Lima.
you really you showed me a deeper understanding of AI in Africa, a deeper
Mm.
understanding of AI in Nigeria specifically than I knew before. So thank you. I really
Thank you very
appreciate your
much.
time and enjoy the summit. That we have a few more hours left, and continue networking, continue building those connections, and I can't wait to see what comes out of it.
I'll do my best.
Yeah, you're doing really well so far.
Thank you so much for having me,
Thank you so
Lima.
much.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you. This has been the Gain Podcast with Toyosi, the CEO and founder of Rise Networks. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lima. Thank you for having me, and well done to
Oh,
you.
thank you.